my parents were active in politics, but they didn't know how to be political, so they both got into trouble. And I learned from them to be always in trouble. My parents sent me first to England, and then I went to America for my education. And I mentioned in both of my books that since I was 13, my dream was to go back to Iran. And in 1979, I finished my university. 2 days later, I flew back to Iran. The Iran I had left was very different from the Iran I went back to. And that was maybe one of the most important experiences of my life. I came back in the summer of '79, and I started to teach at the University of Tehran. That was a place I had always dreamed of being. If they told me you go to best universities in the world, it didn't matter. I wanted to be at the University of Tehran. And it was the time of revolution, not a very good time to start teaching. They closed down the universities, then they forced women to wear the veil. I, like many women, didn't obey, and so we were expelled. And I didn't go back to university till 1987. And I went back and taught, but teaching was becoming more and more difficult. You can't teach and constantly think about what these people are going to tell you to do. So I resigned. They didn't accept my resignation. They have to expel you. You can't just resign. And anyway, I wanted to create my ideal class where the students are there free to do and say and read whatever they want. The only condition for the class was to love literature. And so I started it with 7 of my female students. I discovered 2 things. One is that people respond to literature because literature creates a space for you where no matter where you come from, you don't need a passport. Your passport is your passion about knowing other people. And I think they responded to the role that literature played in my book, where against cruelty of reality, against cruelty of political life. And I also think that they saw a different view of Iran. The view of Iran was mainly political. You heard about Mr. Khomeini, Mr. Khamenei, Mr. now Ahmadinejad. You didn't hear about the people. Nobody believed what young people in Iran were like. And young people in Iran are like yourself. They're like any young people. I mentioned it in my second book that my father told me that Iran is a very ancient country and it has been invaded so many times. The only thing that gives us identity as Iranians is its poetry. So I learned from him that I make my home in Iran's poetry, which is the safest place. The greatest rebels for me in Iran were the poets. 750 years ago, Hafez said, hypocritical clerics who drink wine in public and flog people in private. Literature is a celebration of life. It is not just about politics, it's about human relationships. And it is also a resistance against silence of death. When my parents died and when I left Iran, the country I loved so much, how could I feel the absence? How could I create the voices that I had lost? It was through writing. This is why I wrote the second book. Marjane and I didn't know one another, but I read her book and I thought, oh, you know, she's very different from me, but she's writing about the same things. And I think the greatest weapon against tyranny is humor. The ability to laugh at the world and laugh at yourself. No tyrant can tolerate humor. And I loved that about Marjane's book. And as you know, the Iranian government was very angry with her. They were angry with me, they were angry with her. You know? Iranian people, both about my book and Marjane's book, they have a different view. And the more the government is against them, the more people like it. So I'm okay with that. No government can prevent a people from thinking or imagining. For 30 years, people have been getting stoned to Iran. For 30 years, Iranian people have been protesting. But last year, all those groups who had protested before came together, and suddenly they burst on the world. They told the world, we're here, you've been forgetting about us. And I think people pay attention to Sakineh now because they saw Iranian people on the web and on television and everything, and they saw that these people were not like what Mr. Ahmadinejad was saying they are. All of a sudden, for them, it became important. The case of this woman became their case. And they also realized that it is not Iranian people's culture to stone people, to flog people. Iranian people's culture is their poets, it's their music. And I think that now it has gone beyond politics. Now it is a people thing, like South Africa. And when it becomes a people thing, you're always hopeful. Literature can help when it doesn't have a political message. Because to write a novel, you need to have a democratic imagination. When I write, I have to put myself in place of even my enemy. I have to find a voice not just for those I love, but for those whom I don't love. Literature is always about truth. Isabel Allende, quoting a Jewish proverb, said, "What is truer than the truth? It's the story." And to know the truth is a call to action. Once you know, if you don't do anything about what you know, you're also guilty. And I think the best thing in the world is to read, and I think readers of the world should unite.